So today I want to present an updated picture about where ChromaDex is in terms of our mission, in terms of our ChromaDex business plan, in terms of our pipeline. And I'm going to give a current view. As per the last time I've given a RedChip update, there has been some changes to the progress of our developments. But the ChromaDex mission is essentially to lead the regulatory and quality control in the natural products industry, and we're going to continue to do that by growing our legacy reference standards, our fine chemical business, as well as our analytical service business. We use that information to gain market intelligence, which we then use to identify novel ingredient technologies, and we essentially utilize our expertise in the natural products industry and the market intelligence we gain from that to launch novel ingredient technologies. And largely how we do that is by acquiring them and then developing them into commercialized technologies launched effectively as early stage ingredient technologies that address some very large multi-billion-dollar markets. The unique business model that we have essentially utilizes a very well-established reputation that ChromaDex has built up over the past 14 years. We have an established brand in the area of natural products or natural products chemistry. We have thousands of customers that we've established worldwide, not just in the United States, but worldwide. And we leverage those relationships basically to garner that market intelligence that we use to then, at the back end of this process, launch the novel ingredient technologies that. And that strategy now has been one that we've been following for about 3 years. We first launched our TerraPure ingredient, which is the first ingredient that we launched using this model 3 years ago in September of 2010. So once we get, let me focus though first on telling you a little bit more about the legacy business, which is sort of the crux of the entire business model, is this revenue generating platform that the company was founded on 14 years ago, which again built up that ChromaDex as an expert in the area of natural products. And we were founded on two pieces. One is a natural product fine chemical business that we operate, which is our phytochemical catalog. Phytochemicals are compounds found in botanicals or in plants. We have a 600-page catalog today with about 4,000 to 5,000 different products that we sell as research tools primarily. And then we also have an analytical chemistry and services business, which we operate out of our laboratory in Boulder, Colorado. And those are the two main pieces. Last year, we also acquired another business last December, a consulting arm, which is another growth arm within, I would say, the service business as well. And that was Spherix Consulting, which we acquired December last year. And we're going to continue to grow in those markets. The legacy business is going to have legs to grow for quite a few years right now because of a lot of different primary drivers. One is consumer demand in the natural product space has been explosive for the past five years at least, 5 to 10 years, and is going to continue to be a growth category for at least another 10 years or so. There's been an increased R&D spend by a lot of the global blue chip players in the space, and there's going to continue to be an increased R&D spend in this category of natural products, or clean, green, natural, sustainable, if you will. And there's also an increased regulatory scrutiny in the space as well. And there will continue to be increased regulatory scrutiny, not just in the US, but all over the world. There's been an increase of regulation in this particular category, and that nobody stands to benefit more from increased regulations in the space than ChromaDex does. So if we go back, move away from the legacy and move towards the development of the ingredient business, we have a very unique model, which essentially gives us a very well-protected first mover advantage in acquiring what I'll call novel ingredient technologies. And how we do this is essentially by following what's going on in the research community and then overlaying that with what's going on actually in the industry. And the research side is the most important because at a very early stage, these guys are buying compounds from our catalog and they're utilizing them to do early stage research. And when we start seeing that they're developing promising science behind some of these natural product ideas, And then at the same time, we overlay that and see a growing level of interest occurring within the industry. That's the point at which we can make an informed decision on licensing intellectual property that will become part of ChromaDex's future pipeline. And I think that that part of the business model right now is really where we're starting to extract value in our pipeline, as evidenced by the continuing growth with our the amount of product launches now that we have with our pipeline, and I'll talk more about that as well. But if we look at our model, the model past when we make a decision is, one, we need to find something. When we find something interesting, then we need to acquire it or license it. Once we acquire it or license it, we have to develop it, meaning we have to create a brand, we have to establish supply chain to commercially produce the material in a level that will be palatable for the market, and then we need to create, commercialize the stuff, and that's essentially creating a brand or a branded ingredient to launch, to bring to market. And we've successfully done this now for about 3 years. So our ingredient technology serves several large multi-billion-dollar markets. We serve everything from the dietary supplement, the food and the beverage market, animal health, skincare or cosmetic products, and then we also fringe into the possibility of the pharmaceutical and also the medical food market with the technologies, and I'll tell you more about that when I talk about the specific technologies. We're following the model of other fairly successful ingredient companies, such as Martech, as an example, who was acquired by DSM about 3 years ago, or just over 3 years ago now. And that's our plan, is to basically continue to develop novel technologies that will become, hopefully, the next big ingredients in the market space, like an omega-3 fatty acid. So if we take a look specifically at our portfolio, the first ingredient that we launched 3 years ago was TerraPure Terastilbene. We've been in the market now selling that ingredient for about 3 years. We announced our first clinical study results on that compound last year. Pure Energy is very recent. I'll tell you more about that one specifically. Niagen was just released a few months ago based on a compound called nicotinamide riboside, and again, more about that. And then ProC3G is the fourth compound that we have in our ingredient portfolio at the moment, based on a compound called cyanidin-3-glucoside, which is an anthocyanin. So if we look at the model in action as a sort of a case study here, essentially what we did with TerraPure, just to give you an idea of this discover, acquire, develop, and then commercialize model that we have. We were first aware of this compound when the USDA had reached out to us about terastilbene and what they were doing on terastilbene going back as far as 2003. We followed their research over the course of about 6 years. When we decided that, we felt that there was enough breakthrough, at least on the scientific level, and based on the success of resveratrol in the market that had been building up over that same time period, that we first, number one, looked at try to find a way to commercially manufacture the material, which we started in about 2009. We licensed the technology formally from USDA in 2010. Again, that was after we had already made a decision that we felt that we could commercially manufacture this stuff at a reasonable cost. And then we launched the brand TerraPure as our first ingredient in 2010. So all in all, it took about 7 years to get through the entire process, but we ended up with a highly valuable ingredient. And we didn't necessarily have to pay a lot to acquire that and develop it to the point where we launched the branded ingredient TerraPure in 2010. So TerraPure is a story that we've been out talking about now for at least three years or so now. So I won't spend a lot of time on this, but terastilbene is a compound similar to the more well-known compound called resveratrol. It's a compound naturally occurring in blueberries. We finished our first clinical study on the compound last year, and we got a statistically significant result in a double-blind placebo-controlled study showing that terastilbene was highly effective in reducing blood pressure in that study. And we're going to continue to pursue other clinical studies on TerraPure as well over the next few years as we develop that product line. If you remember, at one point too, we had a retail brand called Blue Science, We sold the Blue Science brand earlier this year to a company called NutriSci, and we're in the process of helping them roll out the brand and continue the success that we had with Blue Science and keep our focus once again on the ingredient technologies. Pure Energy is one of the more recent technologies that we just launched in May or March of this year. Pure Energy is essentially a combination of TerraPure and caffeine. We found a way of crystallizing caffeine together with pterostilbene, and this is going to have a significant effect on the metabolism of essentially of caffeine. And we started a human study on that, our first human study in June. We just released the results of that human study a few weeks ago. But what we were looking for is essentially to have a compound that would be a caffeine replacement, the more gradual finish with, say, no crash effect associated with it, amongst other things. But ultimately, we were looking for an alternative caffeine story in light of the very recent events that have started, I would say, and been accelerating over the energy beverage category or the highly caffeinated beverage category, whereas it's under pressure right now. Largely, there's regulators, there's members of Congress that are looking at this, and the media has definitely been negatively spun in the direction of over-caffeination as being a major problem. And we know what we perceive. There's been a series of events, again, over the past 12 months that have led to a point where our belief is that the FDA is effectively going to come in at some point and come in with a establishment of a limit of the amount of caffeine that could be contained in these products. And what we were hoping that would come out of our study was that it would support the story that you could actually reduce the amount of caffeine with Pure Energy, but yet not lose the effectiveness of with that reduced amount of caffeine. The human study proved exactly what we were hoping for, which was that we did show, in fact, conclusively in the human study that we got data that supports a 50% reduction of caffeine without necessarily losing the benefit of the equivalent of essentially a double dose of caffeine from just ordinary caffeine. So it was a very good study that we were hoping that we were going to get that sort of response from, and we believe that story is going to resonate very well within the energy beverage markets as the regulations start to clamp down in that space, which will, again, most likely move in the direction of putting a cap on the amount of caffeine that can be contained in those types of products. If we look at Niagen, which we just announced in May or launched as a branded ingredient in May, it's a compound called nicotinamide riboside. Nicotinamide riboside is a compound naturally occurring in milk. It's a precursor to a compound called NAD, or nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which is critical to the energy metabolism and mitochondrial function within your cells. And a similar version of this already exists in the market, which is a more well-known compound called niacin. And what NR, or Niagen, represents is essentially a next-generation version of niacin that actually not only presents a more potent version of the compound, but it also fixes one of the main potential problems with niacin, which is this flush effect. The flush effect, when you take normal or high doses of niacin, the flush effect is a real problem in the sense of a side effect that basically causes people to essentially stop taking niacin because it's not something that makes you feel very good. And we were happy with the fact that we ended up with just a story here where we have a more potent version of a replacement in niacin, but the Niagen story goes way past that. And largely it's going to be the future of Niagen is essentially going to be offering a fix to all of those issues, meaning the flush effect. But we also have a strong patent portfolio protecting nicotinamide riboside, or Niagen. We licensed patents from Dartmouth, from Cornell, from Washington University. And we plan on moving this forward in our first human study, which is again going to be a pharmacokinetic study where we're going to look at, and our primary motive here is to look at the effect that nicotinamide riboside has on NAD and energy metabolism. And if we get the result that we're looking for right now, this concept of a precursor to NAD is one of the hottest growth categories that we see in the market. Food, beverage, dietary supplement, even pharmaceutical right now are looking at precursors to NAD, and nicotinamide riboside at this point appears to be probably perhaps the most important or most potent precursor to NAD in the market, and we're the first to move on a product that's going to address that with Niagen. Pro-C3G is the last one in our pipeline at the moment, outside of other developments that we haven't necessarily publicly talked about. But Pro-C3G is an anthocyanin. Anthocyanins are the purple pigments in blueberries, the purple pigments in most fruits or vegetables. And there's a lot of benefits to these compounds. The French paradox effect of red wine that's sometimes associated with resveratrol is probably is actually more associated, or should be more associated, with these compounds called anthocyanins. And there's a lot of health potential or health benefits that they have here with anthocyanins or Pro-C3G, which is primarily our focus is going to be on weight loss, obesity, blood sugar control, insulin resistance, and also anti-aging is a category that we're going to be focusing on. This is based on technology that we licensed from the State University of New York at Buffalo a few years ago, and again, we're in the process of rolling that brand out now as well. So we have a robust ingredient portfolio of ingredients that we've already launched. We have a pipeline of other ingredients that we plan on rolling out over the next few years. In total, over the next couple of years, we probably hope to have an ingredient portfolio that represents probably 5 to 10 different brands, more than the 4 that we have right now. So just to give you a couple highlights here, ChromaDex utilizes its legacy business of the fine chemical standards business as well as the analytical service business, which will continue to grow over the next 5 to 10 years at a nice rate. And we'll use that expertise or the established brand that we have as a company in that area to generate market intelligence. That market intelligence will drive us to highly valuable novel ingredient, early stage ingredient technologies that we'll be able to launch across a wide range of very large multi-billion-dollar markets. The first ingredient that we launched was TerraPure about 3 years ago. We've since launched Pure Energy, Niagen, and Pro-C3G. We'll continue to roll out new novel ingredient technologies following this very efficient business model over the next few years. And we expect to have a strong success with the Pure Energy and the Niagen brands in particular over the next few years, based on prevailing currents in the market that we believe are going to be strong drivers to helping us grow those brands over the next few years. There's a few other slides in the deck. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Our primary management team here is myself, the co-founder and CEO of the company. Tom Bavaro is the CFO of the company, and has been with us for about 10 years. Just a very quick overall summary of the cap table. We have one primary shareholder of interest that I'll comment on, and that is Dr. Phil Frost, who is the founder of IVAX and is now the founder and CEO of OPCO Health, is our largest investor with about a 15% stake in the company. We're 2 locations. We're based in Irvine, California as our headquarters, and we have our laboratory facility in Boulder, Colorado, and we now, since acquiring Spirix, have a office in Rockville, Maryland as well to serve the consulting business. With that, that'll end the presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, we're going to open the line now for our question and answer session with ChromaDex. We have on the line with us Frank Jacks, President and CEO of ChromaDex. Ticker symbol is again CDXC on the OTCQB. Welcome, Frank.
Hi.
We'll get started with the question. Our first question, a couple related questions to competition. Who are your biggest competitors as of right now? Do you think the market you're participating in is oversaturated? And what mainly sets you apart from the competition?
I'll answer a piece of it. No, I don't believe that there's definitely not an oversaturation of competition in our space right now. But from a competition standpoint, we sort of have, I would say, sort of two prongs of, or in this case, actually three prongs of different types of competitors. In the legacy business, we have the phytochemical catalog, we have the analytical service business, and then we also have the ingredient business. And so our competitors are different in each of those categories. There are two main competitors in the catalog business as well as the services business are much larger companies where these are very much smaller divisions that basically compete against us, but at the same time they're actually customers of ours as well. So in a lot of cases our competitors in those businesses are actually our customers as well. The ingredient business is different because we have a rather unique position that we're in terms of the novel ingredients that we're launching. So we're not competing in commodity markets with the ingredients that we have. So, it's really wide open for us, and we really don't have much competition that is following the same business model that we do in terms of launching novel ingredients.
Very good. Thank you, Frank. Our next question, can you provide an update on any clinical trials that are currently going on?
Well, we just wrapped up the clinical study and announced data regarding Pure Energy about a month ago. We are in the middle of starting new clinical initiatives right now, and our primary focus on that is going to be Niagen. And we haven't necessarily publicly disclosed exactly what we're doing, but we're going to be starting we should hopefully before the end of the year be starting our first human study on nicotinamide riboside or Niagen. And after that completion of that, we have a second study actually pending the results from that first study that will launch pretty closely after the completion of that first study. So we do have two studies planned in the next, that will be starting over the next 3 to 6 months regarding Niagen, and that's probably going to be one of our primary focuses, at least from clinical initiatives over the next year.
Okay, thank you. And our next question, what advantages does nicotinamide riboside have over vitamin B3?
Well, it is a vitamin B3 in its own right. It's a metabolite of vitamin B3 niacin or niacinamide, so it's lumped into that class, but it does have advantages over both of the other already what I would call vitamin B3s, which are niacin and niacinamide. And if we take niacin as an example, it has several significant advantages. One is there's no flush effect. So one of the side effects from niacin, which causes a lot of people to stop taking niacin, is the flush effect. There is no flush effect with nicotinamide riboside as a comparison. Niacinamide also does not have that flush effect, but it also doesn't have the potency or the benefits that come from niacin. And that's where we have a second advantage with nicotinamide riboside, as the potency, based on the data that we have right now, is showing a significant improvement in potency as compared to niacin on its own. And we expect that, data on that front is going to continue. And I would say the biggest advantage we have with nicotinamide riboside over the other two is that its ability to act as a precursor to NAD is a dramatic improvement over both of those compounds. And that's ultimately, I think, where we're going to see the most significance in terms of the benefit of nicotinamide riboside over the other ones.
Thanks, Frank. Our next question, what is the market size for your caffeine product, Pure Energy? And related, how has the adoption of Pure Energy and products been so far?
So the market size is going to be proportional largely to the size of the energy beverage market. The energy beverage market in the U.S. is a $15 to $20 billion business. If we were able to get let's call it a fraction, if we got substitution of 10% of that market at retail equivalent, so let's call it $1.5 billion in sale of those sales became Pure Energy customers and substituted caffeine for Pure Energy, that 1.5 billion would approximately equate to about a $30 to $40 million revenue opportunity for ChromaDex. So if we were able to convert a larger chunk of the market, then that number would increase proportionally. The second portion of the adoption based on the level of inquiry since we've rolled out the clinical data, and also and I'm not sure if some of you have been following it, but we have received some media pickup. Fast Company did an article about Pure Energy, and there's been sort of further viral activity related to that as well, and we expect that to continue over the next couple of weeks as well. But we've had numerous queries from not only energy beverage companies, but other companies that have what I'd consider to be highly caffeinated products that have a reasonable amount of fear of they're looking into substitution with alternatives like this.
Okay, very good. And our next question, how does the recent strategic investment from DSM venturing affect ChromaDex?
Well, it's important for us because the DSM investment is really a strong showing for the company in general. I mean, it's a strong validation for ChromaDex of ChromaDex's business model, our business model for accumulating intellectual property and then rolling it out in novel ingredients. And it's also a strong validation of the existing pipeline of ingredients that we have, including Pure Energy and Niagen, ParaPure. And it's also important for the company right now because the money, the investment money that we received from DSM is going to go to further accelerate the development of the existing portfolio that we have, not only limited to Niagen or Pure Energy, but also to the development of new activity, meaning new stuff that we haven't even rolled out as brands yet. And having access to the money to do that is critical for the company.
Okay, thank you very much, Frank. That was actually our last question that came in. So I want to thank you for joining us today and for sharing the ChromaDex story. Definitely a lot of exciting things going on. We look forward to hearing further updates about the successes as things go forward.
Thanks a lot.